Alright guys, everybody's been asking for a build video on the car. Yeah, let's take a look and pop the hood and go through it. Alright, so let's just start exterior. Super simple, wheels, tires. The car is a 93 VX. So those are the original wheels in the back. They are like 13 by 5.5s. They have some 205 6013s on them, just because I like the little meaty look. And then the fronts are on Toyo Proxies R888s. They are 225 50 14s. These are 96 2000 HX front wheels. And then brakes, it does have rear disc conversion, and then fronts are a 92 to 95 EX. Front spindle and brake setup. It's got hawk pads and Motul RBF 600. Brake fluid, you know, it's got the booster and master off the 92 95 EX as well. So the brakes actually work quite well on this car. And then suspension, it is on Blox Pro series right now. I think it's 12,000 spring rate in the front, 18 in the back. And then it also has a traction bar. So the traction bar is a Megan Racing traction bar. You can see a little bit of it there through the hole. See if you can peek your head in here. You can see some in there. So you can see that blue traction bar there. That's Megan Racing. And then start with fuel. So fuel is it's a Walboro 450 intake. It's got my reflection, so you can't really see there, but intake. So you can see that it's got some additional wiring running to it there. That's some 10 gauge power wire. So it's using the factory fuel lines. So factory fuel lines from the back to the front, factory filter, factory feed to the rail. Then it has a VMS fuel rail with a Blox pressure regulator like kit. It basically attaches to your factory regulator. You like cut the top of your regulator off and use this so you can actually regulate the factory regulator, and then the factory return back to the tank. So the 10 gauge wiring that's going to the back is you got power from the battery to a relay, and then power from the relay to the pump, and then the factory power wire for the fuel pump is what triggers the relay, so it still works just like factory, but you need the extra voltage to run the pump when it's at that higher load. The factory wire is very thin and it just doesn't get the voltage it needs, so you do need to do that if you're going to make some decent power. And then injectors, it has RC 1000s. I do run about 60 psi of base pressure on the rail there, to make it so that I can make as much power as I do on those 1000 cc's, because they are basically maxed out where they're at. The ECU is a P28. You actually see it down there. It's a P28 with a Neptune RTP board in it. It does have boost by gear and whatnot set up in it. See, there's a Mac 3-port solenoid here. And that is just going to the bottom side of the gate. It's not set up to where it's putting any pressure on the top, which I am actually going to change that up a little bit so I can try to get it to spool a little faster. Then get into intake system. So you got, let's just go turbo stuff. So you got turbo manifold, I believe is made by Forged Racing or something like that. I bought it about 2008. So I don't remember exactly who it was that made it, but it's a top mount manifold. It's pretty big runners, and then it has a single 38mm tile gate. and that's just dump to atmosphere. It is a AR82 back housing, so it's a bigger back housing. It's a 6262 precision ball bearing turbo with the anti-surge compressor housing. The intercooler piping is 2.5-inch intercooler piping. That is all you know, custom made. It's just a kit that I bought off eBay, and then I chopped it up and modified it to make it work on this this setup. And the intercooler, as you can see in here, I keep the grill in there just because I like it. It kind of hides it a little bit, stealthy, a little more stealth, I guess, and keeps bigger items out of the intercooler. It is a just an eBay special. I mean, it's nothing special. I think I got it on Craigslist or something around here for like 40 bucks. It is I don't remember the brand, maybe XS or something, but it's a, as you can see, it's a tube and fan, not a bar and plate design, so it's really not a great intercooler. It's a 3-inch core, so you got 3-inch inlets and outlet on both sides. You know, again, routes up, comes across. It's got a old Gretty Type S blow-off valve. Honestly, this blow-off valve is probably a little undersized for this kit, for this setup, but whatever, it's been working fine. It's got a 70mm eBay throttle body. I couldn't tell you what brand it was. It's not anything special. Cheapest one probably that I got on eBay. And then that is port matched to the Skunk 2 Pro Series intake manifold. And then the Skunk 2 Pro intake manifold is also port matched to the head just at the end of the runner, just so it's got good flow there, just, you know, maybe 2 inches in at most. Is it modified? It has a Speed Factory 4-bar map sensor, and that is about it there. Then we get into the motor itself. So it is a 92 to 95 JDM D15B, or an OBD1 D15B VTEC. I know it says it's a VTEC-E, but it is not actually a VTEC-E. This is the original valve cover from the car, because the car is the fuel economy model, blah blah blah. So it is not actually a VTEC-E. It is just a D15B VTEC. It's an OBD1. Basically, it's the same motor as a D16Z6, except for it's got a 1.5 stroke. It does have a cheap eBay radiator too. It's nothing special. Again, it does fine after a pull. It gets to about 196 and then comes right back down. Runs about 184, 186 degrees, so it keeps temperatures pretty decent. So head is now a 4-piston racing D16 Outlaw head. So it is a D15B head, the original head for this motor. It is the same casting as a D16Z6. So if you look right here, I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not, but right there is a casting code. It says P08-4. If you look that up, that is actually a you know, same casting as a D16Z6. So as you can see, right next to that is right above the exhaust manifold there, it says 4-piston. They did a CNC port on the head, so the head is CNC ported. You do not need that to make this kind of power. My old head that I hand ported myself was the same head, made same power at the same boost. It did. This head does carry the power a little longer than mine did, but ultimately, you know, same kind of power numbers, and so far from what I've seen, it's going to run very similar track times. So then the head is got Skunk 2 springs and retainers. It has SuperTech valves, a Comp Stage 2 turbo cam, that is a 59300. It's got an AEM True Time cam gear, and then the block is a same thing. It's a full OBD1 D15B. So the block has stock sleeves, stock crank, You know, the block itself is stock. The only thing done to the block is it has Skunk 2 D16 rods, 137 millimeter. So the reason it uses D16 rods is the D15B OBD2 VTEC motor. Actually, the crank is different than the other, so it actually has D15 main journals and D16 rod journals. So that's why you can use a D16 rod. The D16 rod is 137 millimeter versus the D15 rod, which is 134 millimeter. The only reason this setup works is because of the Vitara piston. This wouldn't work with a different piston. So the D15B VTEC motor has a different piston than all the other D series motors. So it is it's a one-off kind of piston. So it actually sits about, I think it's about 2.5 millimeters higher in the piston than like say a D16 Z6 piston. So that's why using the 3 millimeter longer rod, you're able to do that with that piston, so that it still is a 1.5 stroke, but because of the piston, it doesn't go out of the deck height or above deck height. So the Vitara piston is the same thing. The pin height is the same thing. You know, I think that the D15B piston is actually about 3 millimeters higher in the piston, and the Vitara piston is about 2.5 millimeters. I think that's what it is. So the Vitara piston actually, when you put it in, sticks out of the deck about a little over half an inch, 0.6 millimeter, or not half an inch, half a millimeter. It sticks out just a little bit, which I'll drop a little picture because it's in my bottom end build video, so I'll put that in right here. So this is all the way up top dead center, and you can see the piston sticks out of the deck just a little bit. It's actually half a millimeter. And then so because of that sticking out of the block half a millimeter, I use a thicker head gasket. So this is using a Cometic 75.5 millimeter gasket, and it's so standard gasket is a 0.30. This is a 0.50. It's 20 thousandths thicker than factory, which is half a millimeter. That's, you know, with the half a millimeter of the piston sticking over the deck, that's why I do that. So it's got, the block is just Skunk 2 standard length D16 rods, 137 millimeter, with a set of 30 with a set of 75.5 millimeter YCP Vitara pistons. They are the Teflon coated pistons. You don't need that. It doesn't make any difference really. You know, get them if you want to. It doesn't make any difference. Whatever. And then it does have that Cometic head gasket, and then ARP head studs. Just standard ARP head studs, not L19s or anything like that. Then it also has a OEM oil pump. It's actually the one that was already on it. I didn't even replace it. So it's, the only thing done to the oil pump was it shimmed a little bit for a little extra pressure. But other than that, it's stock. I haven't ported it or anything like that. And I am revving it pretty high. Water pump, same thing, just another OEM water pump. It does run a, you know, auto part store belt too. I'm not running a Gates on this motor. It should be fine. You know, it doesn't get that many miles on it. I'll change it every so often. It's not like it's going to have 100,000 miles on a timing belt, so it'll be fine. Other than that, in the block, in long block, that's pretty much it. Then the crank pulley is a D15B crank pulley. Then the flywheel is a Fidanza 7-pound aluminum flywheel. It has an ACT 6-puck sprung clutch, and I actually have the part number for that right here. This is the box still I have sitting around, so you can see there, that's the ACT part number for the clutch. And then the transmission, I've said before, is a 92 to 95 EX transmission. So it's you know, the stock tranny, with the exception of now it has a straight cut third gear in it, which if you've been following my channel, you've seen that video. Right. So here you go, MTM close gear ratio. It's a straight cut gear, and there she is. Looks very nice. If not, you can go back and look at it if you want, of me installing that straight cut gear. So it's just a stock gearbox, open differential. Everything's completely stock brass synchros, everything. The only thing that's been done to it, I opened it up because I shredded third gear on the street, put a straight cut gear in it, and that was it. That straight cut gear is made by a company called MTM in the Philippines. I found them on Facebook. I'll try to put a link in the description as well, so you have that. And then let's see what else. So motor mounts. People always look at this and go, oh, why don't you have motor mounts, blah blah blah. If you've seen dyno video of the car, motor doesn't move. So it is a stock transmission mount and a stock motor mount. Hard to tell, but yeah, they're stock. There's nothing done to them. The only thing that is done to this motor mount wise is it has energy suspension motor mount inserts, or torque mount inserts. So you have torque mount there on the left side of the tranny, torque mount there where the AC pulley, tensioner pulley normally bolts, and the other torque mount for the rear T-mount. Those are all torque mounts. If you look in the hole here, you can see there's actually an insert there. That insert works great. Gives the motor just a tiniest little bit of flex, nothing really, but it does make it so the motor isn't so violent. When you first put them in, when they're brand new, it's going to shake the car around pretty good. But not as bad as like the solid mounts. I like those better because they have better attachment points than, say, like this side post mount. The side post mount has 2 bolts that go into the side of the block. The block's aluminum. That's just really, if that's the only mount you have, that's just not that much support. And I've seen the threads get ripped out of the block. You know, either from just, you know, the motor trying to move, or people over tightening them, you know, whatever the case be. You know, this setup that I've been using works great. So it's been like this for a long time. All right, and then axles, they're stock AutoZone axles. Nothing special. They got a lifetime warranty on them. If I ever were to break one, which I haven't ever broken one yet, I would just replace it for free. I think that's about it. Okay, ignition. So it is a OBD2 distributor, 96 2000 EX distributor off a D16Y8. It's only like that because I couldn't find an OEM OBD1 distributor at the time, so I grabbed this one, got a little harness, made it work. So the distributor is all stock. The only thing different is it has an MSD Pro cap, and I pulled the factory coil out and put an MSD Blaster SS coil, and then it has some MSD wires. It runs a NGK BKR8 plug. I believe the part number is 4554 is the NGK part number for that I use. And then I think the only other thing is the catch can system. I made this little catch can. You know, just some plate that I had laying around, welded it up and made it work. Welded some fittings on the valve cover, you know, whatever. So it has the 2 off the valve cover, runs in the side, and then this one over here comes off the factory breather box on the back. Rather than cap it off, I said, well, you know what, I might as well just use it as another vent, so I just plugged it over there. Made it work. The car is running a full exhaust, so you can see it's 3-inch. It goes down, it goes all the way back. It does have a resonator in it. Let's see if I can show you that. So yeah, there's the resonator right there. So it's full 3-inch. There's a resonator all the way back. It's pretty thick wall piping, really. And then it has a vibrant 3-inch inlet, 3-inch outlet muffler. So nothing special, but it actually does sound pretty good. But yeah, I think that's it. I'm gonna put together a parts list to throw in the description. So you should have every part that's on the car at that point. Yeah, yeah, other than that, there's really nothing else going on. Like I said before, I mean, this build is super simple. All these parts are not necessary depending on what kind of power you're trying to make. These motors will make 400 on a stock head, so you could, you know, you just have to have the turbo system to support it, and you got to crank the boost up a little bit. But you know, you're gonna see upper 20s, 30 pounds on a stock head to get to 400 mark. But it is doable. You'll see some other people doing it, and it works. So you could leave the head completely alone, just put rods and pistons in a motor and put together a decent turbo kit and make 400. And I may end up actually you know, doing something like that for you guys, just to show you. I may build another car and you know, just build like a super budget kit and just show you how simple it is to make power, as long as you know what you're doing. But I think that's it. But if you guys want to see anything else, let me know. If you got any more questions, you can ask here on YouTube, or you can hit me up at Turbo Kenny 87 on Instagram. All right, thanks for watching.